Hi, I welcome you all in YuktMind's unique initiative 10 Minutes and Newspaper Done. We'll be covering today's The Hindu newspaper. You can also download the PDF of these news from our Telegram channel, the link of which is given in description below, or also from our website www.yuktmind.com under Current Affairs tab. Let's get started. We'll be covering 8 news today, starting with Article 355, blocking of SIMs in Tamil Nadu, haunted heritage walk of Delhi, the G20 and SEO summits, Go First conundrum, modernization initiative of Indian Army, EU's carbon tax, and lastly, that COVID is no longer an emergency declared by WHO. The first news is regarding recent unrest in Manipur. Manipur is on the boil because of High Court's decision directing the state government to act on a 10-year-old directive to grant scheduled tribe status to Maitai community, which is being opposed by tribal hill people of Manipur. Now, there are news that Article 355 might be used in this case. So, what is Article 355? It's part of emergency provisions contained in Part 18th of Constitution of India, which ranges from Article 352 to 360. It states that it is the duty of union to protect state against external aggression and internal disturbance and to ensure that the government of every state is carried on in accordance with the provisions of this constitution. Now we move on to our second news. The Ministry of Home Affairs has asked the Tamil Nadu government to block around 55,000 SIM cards which were activated with fake identities. The Department of Telecommunication has deployed artificial intelligence and facial recognition powered solution, that is ASTR technology, to identify large number of similar images with different addresses. You can quote this in your mains answer. Now the third news is about haunted heritage walk initiative of Delhi tourism. So it will cover Malcha Mahal, Bhuli Bhattiari Ka Mahal, Firozshah Kotla, and Tughlaqabad Fort. So Malcha Mahal was built by Sultan Firozshah Tughlaq and was used as a hunting lodge. Whereas Bhuli Bhattiari Ka Mahal, it dates back to 14th century. The place was built by Firozshah Tughlaq also as a royal hunting lodge. Whereas Tughlaqabad Fort was built by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, the founder of Tughlaq dynasty. So he established the third historic city of Delhi, which was later abandoned in 1327. Now the fourth Firozshah Kotla was a fortress built around 1354 by Firozshah Tughlaq to house his version of Delhi city called Firozabad. It has a pristine polished sandstone Topra Ashokan pillar, which is from 3rd century BC, and it was moved from Topra Kala in Pong Ghati of Yamunanagar district of Haryana under the orders of Firozshah Tughlaq of Delhi Sultanate, and it was re-erected in its present location in 1356. Now, the fourth news is an interesting article by our former National Security Advisor and former Chief of Intelligence Bureau, Shri M.K. Narayanan. He talks about that India should look beyond the G20 and SCO presidencies. So, let us dive deep into this article. Context first. Uh, Priorities listed by India as signifying its presidency of G20. These are climate change, clean energy, sustainable developmental program, and reform of multilateral institutions may take a back seat given the deteriorating global situation. India also needs to be aware that importance of the G20 appears to be declining in today's world. The SCO, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization, seems to have somewhat greater traction. During its presidency of the two institutions, India may well be called upon to chart a course that balances the contradictory demands of G20 and the SCO, and even more so that of the global south. So, why this contradiction is arising between our presidency of G20 and SCO? Because as of now, the world is divided into two camps, and there is a lot of distrust between them. So, distrust between the two camps, led by United States and China and Russia, respectively, leaves little scope for countries such as India that have not declared their allegiance to either camp. There is no room for maneuvering for India as of now. He talks about that the major issue for India is with China. Foremost of them is how to deal with the rampaging China, currently on a major diplomatic come strategic offensive across Asia, especially West Asia. So China is launching several other regional initiatives to challenge India in the Indian Ocean region. That is China Indian Ocean Region Forum, which has seen participation by an overwhelming majority of Indian Ocean states. China is seeking to widen the arc of conflict with India, where India is trying to limit the conflict only to the boundary conflict. Currently, China is targeting India for going closer to the US and the Western Bloc for its partnership in the Quad, which consists of India, Australia, Japan, and US, as well as its participation in maritime surveillance exercise with the US, Japan, and Australia, which was called Malabar 2022. China is also actively engaged in seeking new friends in India's extended neighborhood in a bid to limit India's influence in this region. It can be seen from China's skirting Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka. China's rise in West Asia, where India seems to have been sidelined given the major churn in West Asia, much of it is on China's initiative. That is, the China's latest brokered Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Tente is setting the stage for major diplomatic shifts across the region, marginalizing India and certain other nations. As China has always been unpredictable and very secretive, China's ability to embark on hybrid warfare, including the adoption of cyber tactics, engage in the politics of water by redirecting the Himalayan rivers, and adapting to modern conditions, the tactics popularized by the 5th century Chinese strategist Su Zhu of winning wars without fighting through avoiding the enemy's strength and attacking his weaknesses. The other issues involved with India are its neighborhood and its relations with Russia. Turmoil in India's immediate neighborhood in South Asia compound India's problem. The situation in Afghanistan appears to be steadily worsening. Pakistan and Sri Lanka are also facing worst of the times. India's relation with Russia also appear to be entering a prolonged phase of uncertainty. Russian ties are not necessarily anchored in defense cooperation. However, they have been a key factor in cementing the India-Russian relations. As India looks more to the West, specifically the US, for state-of-the-art weaponry, the inevitability of the relationship can no longer be guaranteed. On the opposite side, the Russia China strategic relationship is getting stronger and stronger. Both countries openly giving vent to their belief in the utility of such a relationship. Strains are inevitable in India Russia relationship. Russia's unequivocal attack on the Quad during SCO's defense ministers' meeting in New Delhi recently is a pointer to the winds of change that are becoming evident. The economic content of the bilateral relationship is limited between India and Russia, and for the present linked to trading in oil, imparting little dynamism to the relationship. So, what is the way forward? India is one of the few countries in the world which has managed to emerge from COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant economic crisis without much damage, and is widely seen as a prospective global power. India should use its fortuitous position of helming both the G20 and SCO presidencies simultaneously and balance the counter demands of both the forums. Now, the fifth news: symptomatic stall the go first conundrum. There are concerns of financial viability of domestic Indian airliners. So, what are the concerns of domestic airliners? Given the high capital and operational costs, the commercial air transport industry operates with wafer thin margins, so there's less profitability. Intense competition to gain market share and resultant price wars are responsible for this. COVID-19 lockdown was a major setback to this intensive industry. Also, last year's surge in crude prices in the wake of Ukraine invasion, combined with rupees depreciation against the dollar, sent ATF, that is aviation turbine fuel, costs soaring for domestic carriers. So, a lot of domestic Indian airliners are in red. Now, the sixth news is a good news of Indian Army's modernization initiative. Army will soon have a real-time common operating picture with information and data from various sensors and inputs fused into one comprehensive image for quick decision making. A new battlefield surveillance system, that is BSS, under Project Sanjay is in the process of being deployed. Under BSS, the aim is to have surveillance centers for all field formations by December 2025. It will integrate thousands of sensors, which will enable provision of an integrated surveillance picture, besides completing the sensor shooter grid by integrating with the artillery combat command and control system, that is ACCCS. The system also integrates data on the movements of India's adversaries received from various sources across borders, including sensors, satellites, unmanned aerial vehicles, pet- and patrols. Complementing the BESS is the Army Information and Decision Support System, an upgraded and redesigned version of the erstwhile Combat Information Decision Support System, which will integrate inputs from all operational and managerial information systems. A decision support system called the Situational Awareness Module for the Army, that is SAMA, has successfully integrated inputs from ACCCS, BSS, E-SITRAP, and the Management Information Systems Organization. Now, the seventh news: central government is looking into options to counter European Union's carbon tax plan. The European Union plans to introduce a carbon border adjustment mechanism, that is CBAM, that will entail a monitoring mechanism for imports from producers deploying non green technologies starting this October and a tax levy from January 2026. This is likely to hit Indian metal and engineering products exports to the EU. So, India is planning to retaliate and have such measures for EU products. Now, the final news of the day. WHO has declared that COVID pandemic is no longer an emergency. However, it has taken note of the recent spike in cases in Southeast Asia and West Asia. The UN Health Agency says that even though the emergency phase was over, the pandemic hasn't ended, so we should not let our guards down. Thank you for watching this video. You can download the PDF of these news from our website www.yuktmind.com or from our Telegram channel. Thank you.